And we're back. It is my understanding that if you are dealing with someone that is toxic, the chances are you have a history of it somehow. Again, I'm not an expert on any of this. I just recall one of my first sessions with my therapist, and she started asking questions about my mother. Did your mother say this to you when you were little? Did she do this when you were little? Did she treat you this way when you were little? And I thought, wow, she's way off base. I don't understand any of this. We're here to talk about my horrible, narcissistic ex husband. And she didn't ask about my father because, of course, I recently lost my father. It's been about a year and a half, and it was absolutely devastating. Also, a real eye opener for me. It's when everything changed for me. My life changed, my outlook changed, my ability to deal with um, the negativity daily of narcissist. It was just too much to bear once I lost my father because he was wonderful. He was a caring individual, and it was a very serious loss. Um, so that changed everything. And so, of course, she didn't ask about the way he treated me because she knew that I missed him dearly and we had a wonderful relationship, and it was a large void. So I just thought she was way off base when she asked about my mother. But we moved on from there, and the therapy continued and was extremely helpful and insightful. And I continue to go, and it continues to help me. In recent months, I've been dealing with some family issues involving my mother, and I've come to realize that she more than likely is also a narcissist. And I was dealing with her, dealing with her outbursts and her negativity and the way she treated me. Again, because when you're in it, you don't see it. Very much like my marriage, it was something that I just sort of was accustomed to and thought was normal, and it is definitely not. And she's always been that way. Um, and it's unfortunate that I've had to discontinue my contact with her as well. It happened very suddenly. A lot surrounded it, and it was building and building and building on a daily basis. I was under a great deal of stress and strain with what was going on, um, personally and professionally, and ultimately, um, she ruined something that I had put a great deal of effort into, lost a great deal of sleep over something that was entrusted to me by my father, and I no longer speak to her. I realized what she was doing to me. I realized the toll it was taking on me emotionally. I realized the toll it was taking on my health. And it was a very difficult thing, and still is. Still is. I spend a lot of time talking to my therapist about it. And she informed me that there are many people that sit with her, sit across from her, that are in that position, that end up cutting ties with their family of origin, and close friends, people that we form friendships with, form other ties with, become our family because our family of origin is not healthy for us. And that was very difficult for me. I love my children dearly. There isn't anything I wouldn't do for them. I could never see cutting them out of my life or having them cut me out of theirs. I always want to know how they are and how they're doing. My family has always been very important to me. Um, Again, it's why I stayed. It's why I stayed in an abusive relationship. It's why I dealt with him. It's why I tolerated feeling so lonely and allowing myself and my self esteem to take such a beating over all those years. It was because of my family. I wanted to hold that together. It was it was very dear to me. I treasured it, and everything has changed. My life has changed, um, and I no longer have a relationship with my mother. And as awful as that sounds, I'm a healthier, happier adult because of it. I'm a completely different person now, and there was a time, and I remember sharing this with my therapist, and I said, she would say some pretty harsh things, and call me upset. I dreaded answering my phone. I dreaded dealing with her. I never knew what she was going to come at me with, and I would tell myself, she's upset. She's a widow now. She lost dad. This is hard. This is difficult. She's hurt. She's lonely. I'd make these excuses for her just the way I made excuses for my ex. And my therapist said, you are hurting. You are grieving. You lost your father. That is not an okay to treat people like shit. It's not an okay to take advantage of the people that are around you and treat them poorly. Grief doesn't give you a green light to do that. And I realized that made a lot of sense to me. I thought, as much as I'm upset, as much as this is hurting me, I don't take it out on my children. I don't, take it out on John. I don't, lash out at them and say mean or hurtful things to them because I'm grieving. So why am I allowing her to do this? And it all just started making sense. And there's a lot I can and eventually will elaborate on with that relationship. But yeah, it's not good. It wasn't good. It wasn't healthy. I realized a lot in looking back, and again, now that I've separated myself, it gives you time to reflect. It gives you time to rethink a lot of situations and re-examine things that happened, and you get clarification. You get that clarity that you never had when you were in the middle of it, when you were just surrounded by it. And in spending time with my own daughter, I realized the things now that were lacking in my relationship with my mother. And why? A lot of that was obviously her. She was the adult. She was the parent. Narcissists have their own reasons for behaving the way that they do. And those of us who are not narcissistic cannot relate to that, and don't really have insight into their motives for behaving the way that they do. But I do know that we're judged pretty harshly. I read an article about this as well, that we're judged pretty harshly as adults when we say, I don't speak to my parents anymore. And I'm seeing now how that's not really right. It's not agreeable. When someone is toxic in your life, I don't think there should be exceptions for who they are. I think that life is to be lived. We shouldn't live it for other people. We shouldn't live it in fear of other people, or worrying about what somebody's going to say, or how they're going to treat us, or how they're going to react, or what sort of backlash we might get for decisions that we make, especially as adults. You have to make these decisions for yourself. They're very personal. It's a very personal decision to say, you know what, I don't want that person in my life anymore. They're toxic to me. They hurt me. They upset me. They're not good for me. My life has changed drastically. I'm so far having no regrets about the decisions that I've made, because I'm a happy person now. I'm appreciating my days, my hours, my minutes, my life in general. I will talk some more about some questions that came from some notifications asking about, did I feel as though I always had to be perfect? Yep. Yes, I did. That's what they do to you. That will be my next video. Thanks for watching.